Oh, I had to actually hit it. Okay, go on.
Have you ever gone someplace really dark and looked up at the night sky? If you stare long enough, the stars seem to come alive. Back before we had things like television and the internet, stargazing was a major form of entertainment, and people would make up stories to go along with what they saw. Ancient soap operas populated by mythological figures. Most of us are familiar with the Greek zodiac. You probably know whether or not you're a Virgo or a Cancer. But the Greeks were not the only ones who saw those 12 constellations passing through the night sky. The Chinese also saw them, named them, and made up stories of their own from their own mythology to go along with them. In this brief overview of these two different zodiacs, we will discuss three main points. First, the mythological and historical origins of these two different zodiacs, and how the different signs are divided. And then we will discuss signs they have in common and the different characteristics each culture ascribes to them. So let's start with the origins. In practical terms, the Greek zodiac was first organized by Ptolemy in his Tetrabiblos, which was published in 150 AD. In mythological terms, it was Zeus who created the constellations. Taurus was put into the sky in remembrance of the story of Europa and the bull, in which Zeus transformed himself into a white bull to seduce the beautiful Europa. And Leos won himself a place in the night sky by doing battle with the hero Hercules. The Chinese zodiac probably predates the Greek one. It dates back at least to the Han Dynasty in 2206 BC. In most versions of the myth, it was Buddha who decided who would be in the constellations. He held a race, and the first 12 animals across the finish line that was on the other side of the river earned themselves a place in the sky. The order in which the animals finished has a lot to do with the traits that the Chinese ascribe to them. For example, the rat finished first despite his diminutive size because he tricked the ox into giving him a ride across the river on his back. Now the dragon, who could have finished first, actually finished fifth because he stopped to help the rabbit across the river. So let's take a look at how the two different zodiacs organize their signs. The Greek zodiac is organized by the month. For example, Mom is a Cancer. She was born on July the 1st, and Cancer goes from June the 22nd to July the 22nd. I, on the other hand, am a Taurus. I was born on April the 22nd, and Taurus goes from April the 21st to May the 20th. The Chinese zodiac is organized on a 12-year cycle. To use our previous examples, Mom, born in 1951, is a rabbit, which was one of the years of the rabbits. I, on the other hand, born in 1985, am an ox, as that was one of the years of the ox. Now, the website wisegeek.com reminds us that when trying to determine your Chinese zodiac sign, you should take into account that the Chinese zodiac uses a lunar calendar rather than our Roman calendar. For example, had I been born before February 20th in 1985, I would have been a rat rather than an ox. So now we'll talk about some of the signs that these two zodiacs have in common and the different traits each culture ascribes to them. Now, out of the 24 signs in these two zodiacs, there are 3 that appear in both. The Greek system has Aries the ram, Leo the lion, and Taurus the bull. And their Chinese counterparts, the sheep, the tiger, and the ox. Sometimes their two traits agree, as Aries and sheep are both considered confident. Sometimes the traits are in direct conflict, as with Leo, which are considered generous, and tigers, which are considered selfish. And other times the traits complement one another. For example, Taurus is considered patient, and the ox is considered gentle, two things that go hand in hand. So, to pull it all together, I find it fascinating that two cultures looked up at the same sky and saw the same stars and found such different ways of describing what they saw to themselves. In the Greek zodiac is familiar to us here in the United States. The Chinese one may not be so. So in this overview, I have described 3 main points. I talked about the historical and mythological origins of each of the zodiacs. I talked about the different ways they divided their signs, and finally which signs they had in common and some of the traits they ascribed to each one. I hope that this presentation has shown that while there is some overlap between these two zodiacs, each one offers a unique take on how we view the stars overhead.